All right. Today is our fifth class, and the final time for our first book, the chapter seven. Uh, its title is Power and the Periphery. Uh, and there are three subsections: globalizations, and China syndrome, and beyond the end of history. um, Uh, do you guys know what the word power means, right? And now that we are familiar with the core and the center and its peripheries, right? And there is connections between the center or the core and the peripheries are uh, uh, we can call it power connection, right? The political and economical power relations. And do you guys know um, this president, Bill Clinton, right? He served as president from 1993 to 2001. And during his presidency, there was a significant event relevant to our class. That was the important meeting of the World Trade Organization, WTO, which began on January 1st, 1995. So just 3 or 4 years later, its initiation of the organization, and which was held in Seattle, the Washington state, that the western state of the United States. In this event was held in December 1999. This meeting was a turning point, um, bringing about a new understanding and shift in thinking about the um, global economic order and structure represented by the WTO. But um, this WTO meeting, uh, was not successful. It had to be stopped. And like you um and just like we saw the scene of the meeting, and the a police officer sprays, maybe it is a pepper spray. Do you know what it is, right? uh, at the crowd, a policeman sprays pepper spray. And what about the next one? This flag shows the three environmental issues. And actually, WTO is like uh, was posing environmental laws. But you know what? It is unfair to impose regulations that were previously permitted to developed countries, on underdeveloped and developing countries, right? This is like just the regulations for uh, carbon dioxide, something like that. And so the protesters at the 1999 WTO meeting were sparked by the city's concerns, and the concerns are like this: a lack of transparency and democratic legitimacy, mm, uh, which can be go against the like uh, the authoritarian government like China. Anyway, The second one is the second concern is about violations of labor and environmental rights. And 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 let me say the other things like widening inequality in developing countries and the widespread opposition to globalization. And the protesters are saying that um, WTO, the World Trade Organization meeting, was not a good way of like globalizations or the like its regulations not fair. So this reaction against the WTO is now considered a historic event that raised the question: what kind of globalization? Mm, it can be good, but not fair, because it is just only for the developed countries and Western the centers of this world system, economic system, I think. Do you know what the GATT, and WTO and their differences? And after the World War II, um, like the Western, we call it the Bretton Woods system, right? And after the World War II, the Western countries, major countries, gather to make decisions about the economic systems, uh, actually for themselves, not the whole, not the world whole, the whole countries in the world. So um, the problem about the WTO is just the meeting was just for themselves, the Western countries, not the underdeveloped or developing countries. So, as the cartoon shows, the table and the talk was mainly about the financial crisis, but the countries like developing countries are excluded as the participants on in decision makings. So the 1999, the year mm, for the world economic system is um is symbolic to think about the problems of the before 999 and after 9999. And the author says that for this issue, which is making the whole world system for the Western countries, um, and instead of launching an invasion, the modern periphery, in other words, the developed countries, has used diplomacy rather than the a warning shadow across the bows of the American-led Western Empire, and the first for the first time in 50 years of trade talks, the imperial center had been stopped in its tracks. Yes, as I told you, the WTO, um, mm, the conference in 1999 was not successful because of this change. People protest against such things, their own table talks and decisions regarding the underdeveloped or developing countries. For this matter, Western countries um like um claim the globalization, um which made the Western countries to keep going on their policies. Let me show the diagrams showing the structures of the system like this. And don't get me wrong, and don't forget the strengths and weaknesses of like understanding by like um, diagrams like this. It just shows the one aspect or the crucial things, but um, historical events. But sometimes it skips and overlooks some crucial points. So try to understand history of or the social phenomenon by using like simplified versions of the of understanding like this. And it is helpful sometimes, but it's not helpful. So the other times. So anyway, I'm using these diagrams to teach you, but I don't. I'm not a big fan of this structurizing or using diagrams like this. Okay. Anyway, Western empires after World War II, before 1970s, just like this, after the industrial revolution, they built up the factories in their territory, and they imported raw materials from the less developed countries, and they made the goods, industrial goods, and exported them to the other countries like this. But um, in these systems, uh, as we all know, like in like England, the industrialized world, there's the social problems, right? Like making people, the labor people, in bad situations and in bad working conditions, and and they don't like they protested against the capitalism and the leaders of their nations. So the investors or um the leaders of the world, the country, they moved the factories like this in outside their country in the least developed countries, and and they don't have to import the most raw materials, and they just provided um, some finances and so financial support. And in less developed countries, the products were made and exported into Western empires. This was because thanks to the technical advances like shipping cost uh, down because of the invention of the container and the container ships, like the background picture shows. And in making some product, manpower, uh, the necessity of the manpower had decreased because of the like industrialized machines, right? And there's some the great the advancement in technology, like the communication technology, like the phones and the fax machines, things like that. And even today, we um, everyone in this world has cell phones on their hands, and uh, yeah, like Wi-Fi is everywhere, and we all have connections into the World Wide Web, right? It's like just like revolution and communications, right? Anyway, in this change structure, the before businesses could take full advantage of this new age of technological driven possibility, they had first to do away with the barriers and regulations that limited their overseas operations. And so, for the maximize their benefit, economic benefit, the Western Empire had to do away with the like barriers, like tariff, right? Tax tariff. So this is compared to the Roman history, like the uh, this this way of movement is this change of the structure. It's just like this. For the ancient Rome, um, the internal periphery as it was because of the external periphery and the invasion of the by the Huns and the Franks and the Gaul region, modern France and the Germany. Um, uh, the development of the internal periphery made the ancient Rome the center, like somehow um, decreased in economic the economics and politics. So, so ironically, the Western world's globalization strategy, neoliberal policies, and pressures for economic openness, all aimed at maximizing the self-interest, opened its doors to developing countries and the periphery. And the growth of the periphery and the prosperity of developing countries, however, dealt a fatal blow to the Western hegemony. A symbolic event was the suspension of the 1999 WTO summit. Aside from the protesters, the public protests, the talks were halted when developing countries coalitionally refused to negotiate. So now we talk about the rise of the China. It's equal to invasion by the Huns. It's modern version of the invasion by the Huns. China is and its impact the global economy or the Western economy was tremendous. So we can call it a syndrome. But but remember that China had always been the world's largest economy. Uh, in this Western centralized world, we often forgot that the importance of China and its history. You know what? I'm not a big fan of China or Chinese things, and yeah, you can assume that all, not all, but mostly Korean guys uh, don't like Japan and China is because of the historical ones, and we always been um, uh, in danger of like the like just like the Japanese rule and the Chinese the overtake. Yeah, the South Korea um has long been captured by the like Chinese influence. So like just like our language or like our culture. Anyway, but I'm following the major historical the evaluations by the major historians, and they say that China has had always been the world's largest economy. Let's do the numbers. The like Roman Empire compared to the Han Dynasty in the same era, the population and total GDP and their share of the total world economy, yeah, and GDP per capita, yeah, all numbers. The Han Dynasty is more than Roman Empire, so we can say that China was richer and was like the better place to live for the common people. And let's say the upper image like this Roman Empire and its territory, and this the yellow color is the Han Dynasty, and yeah, it's comparable to each other, right? Yeah. Um, do you know what the international dollar, the Geary Kamis dollars is? It's not the same with the U.S. dollar. International dollar is a hypothetical unit with the same purchasing power as $1 in the U.S. Using purchasing power parity, it is written PPP, and PPP adjustments. It counts for price levels in each country. So, in nominal GDP, the U.S. is still, the United States still ranks number one, but in PPP GDP, China has already overtaken the U.S. Why? Because goods and services in China are cheaper, so the same money buys more. So yeah. Like I told you, maybe Han Dynasties was richer than Roman Empire. Let me show you another diagrams, like another graph showing the current numbers, and similarly this one. Uh, This is the United States versus China GNP GDP growth trend from 1970 to 2010. Yeah. In the 1970s, the United States economy was overwhelmingly dominant, around 1 trillion, while China's output was minimal, around 0.05 trillion. But by the 2010th, the Chinese economy surged to about 12 trillion, and narrowing the gap with the United States at around 18 trillion, symbolizing China's dramatic rise as the world's second largest economy. Mm. And by the 1990s, the country was fully back on the world stage, and the share of its economic output, which it both or sold abroad, had quadrupled in just 15 years. The Chinese economy boomed, matching the stellar record of the four Asian tigers. Do you know what it is? The four Asian tigers, or the four Asian dragons, right? The Singapore, Hong Kong, South Korea, and Taiwan. And by the 2016, the average Chinese person was 25 times richer in real terms than 4 years before, with a per capita income that was now over a quarter of that of America's. China's share of the global industrial production, negligible in 1976, rose correspondingly to near one quarter. And today, the country is, depending on which measure you use. It depending on which measure you use. But anyway, this country is the world's largest economy. So I think I can describe these current situations uh, about China and US and even Russia. Now, for the first time, the US-led Western Empire faced a true superpower rival of equal standing. And the former Soviet Union lacked the economic power to match its military ambitions, and it could not expand its influence globally by providing economic support to a small number of foreign dependent states. Russia's economy largely dependent on oil and gas sales, right? And Russia was already at risk in the long term as the world began to transition away from fossil fuels, like into uh, the sunlight or the solar light energies, things like that. And Russia's vaunted military capabilities, in particular, were exposed when confronted by a much smaller force in the Ukraine war, right? So it is helpful to show the like visualizing GDP ratios between the countries as athletic size can be vary. American player uh, in blue pants uh, uh, still larger and well proportioned, right? So world's largest GDP, approximately 26 trillion. How about Chinese player? He's slightly smaller than the US, but muscular, right? And its GDP approximately 18 trillion. How about the Russian? A Russian player is comparatively is much smaller with one gloves and uniforms. Its GDP is about 2 trillion. And just compare the numbers. It's just like the um it's almost 50 minutes has passed. Anyway, let me keep going. And Russian player is like like this. Have no power to compete them, right? And, and just compare the numbers. Like when 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 we see the United States as the uh, number one, then China is 0.7 and Russia is 0.08. What about the like South Korea? It's the size of the economic size is similar to Russia, but as I told you, the Russia's make the economy is largely based on the raw materials like gas and oil. But South Korea is not like that. It's like semiconductors and auto the car making and ship making or like the AI industries. And compared to the Russia, is South Korea is very young, uh, uh, but it's still young. But who knows? We all don't know about the things to come. And, and Japan is gradually weakening. And just see the table like the growth rates by country from 2021 to 24. Um, uh, the world's best, the world's fastest growing economies are all part of the periphery of the past. Not only China, but India's annual economic growth rate has recently surpassed China's. Hmm. Um, let's take a break and I'll be back in a minute, okay?